All right, tell me first, so I can get in on this. You had a major stroke in 2017. What happened?
We don't exactly know what caused it, but the gist of it is I was in Florida at a film festival for an independent film that I had just done. And then I was actually in the Tampa airport getting ready to fly back to LA. I was in the men's room, and then suddenly I had a bottle of Perrier. I was trying to screw the cap back on the bottle, and my left hand wasn't working. I went, oh, that's weird. And then my left leg collapsed, and I went down in the bathroom. And I stood back up and then went down again. So that's where I had the stroke.
What were you thinking?
Pretty much what the hell's going on? Why isn't my leg working?
Did they rush you to the hospital?
Yeah, so the guys in the bathroom, I guess, must have carried or dragged me out into the waiting area, where luckily I think there was a team of paramedics just happened to be there. So someone got there.
Be there.
Yeah, the fire. Yeah, I was incredibly lucky, and I was waiting to get on a plane to come back to LA. So if I'd gotten on that plane, I wouldn't be here today. So these paramedics came, took care of me, got me immediately to the hospital. Well, luckily, I was in Florida. And the hospital they took me to had one of the best stroke guys in the state working there. So I had a major craniectomy, and
I see that bump on the head.
several weeks I was in the ICU there.
I was in the ICU for a week. I don't want to go through that again.
No, I'd rather not.
How quick could you get back to work?
It took 2 years of pretty much daily therapy to get to a position where I was able to stand out of the wheelchair, let alone walk. So I think it was about a year and a half, 2.5 years, something like that, or 2 years and change.
Was it tough to go back to work?
It was very tough to go back. Because the first thing I went back to was the Psych sequel, Last Year Come Home. Because my dear friend, I'd done that show for 8 years, and my cast and crew really rallied behind me and rewrote the script so I could be, essentially, my character could recover. My character has a stroke on the show. I think I can say that. Might have been a spoiler alert. I've just ruined the whole movie. So they built the movie around Lassie recovering from his injuries. But that first day on set, I quickly realized a lot of things had changed. I used to have a superpower where I could highlight my lines once and just have them memorized. I quickly realized I couldn't do that anymore. So that was
You lost the power of remembering the script.
As quickly as I used to have it, yeah. I mean, because your memory is a muscle, which that one just got really damaged. But I have a bit of a blind spot on my left side because it affected my optical nerve. So having actors walking around me was a little disorienting to not quite know where everybody was all the time.
I had a minor stroke. Was off work for a while. I don't want to bring myself into this, but I'm in a wheelchair just recovering to be able to walk. But I can talk and I can work, and I got back here, and the crew has been great. But I didn't have near what you went through. It's unbelievable. Do they know what caused it?
All we know is that my carotid artery on the right side dissected. I was doing a really strenuous workout. They think that's what it had something to do with lifting heavy weights. And so at some point, it was trying to repair itself. And they think the wound let a clot go one day. And that's what hit my right side of my brain.
When you say that hospital in Tampa is probably one of the tops in the country, what did they do?
Well, it was really the surgeon there. So they had to, because my brain started to swell, like it does after stroke, they had to relieve the pressure, so they took off basically this whole side of my skull.
I had nothing near that.
No, it's a terribly dangerous surgery. And then here's the crazy part, they take the skull and they inserted it into my stomach. They put a blood vessel to it so it stays viable. So they put it in your body so your body won't reject it when they put it back in. And then, I guess 2.5 years later, it was ready to go back in my head.
What was your mental attitude during all of this?
It can be went. For the most part, it was pretty good. I don't know, I kind of laid in that ICU and made the decision of, I can't lay in the corner and, like, a pity party's not going to help me. My parents were both Depression era. My grandfather was a coal miner. So I was like, and I actually have a picture of him right next to my treadmill. Well, I've never met him, but I can just imagine hearing his voice going, "What's the matter? Your leg hurt, kid?" So that really keeps me going.
Did you undergo physical therapy?
I've been doing physical therapy pretty much every day for 2 years. I go to a neuro rehab clinic every day.
Every day?
Every day, and do physical and occupational therapy and cognitive therapy to get just like mental skills back.
What made you, frankly, decide to go back to work? I mean, with medical, I guess, help, you could have afforded to stay home, I would imagine. They would have taken you, care of you. Why did you go back?
That's what I've always been. I've been an actor since I was 21 years old. Actually, since I was a kid. Professionally since I was 21. Sort of what I've always identified as an entertainer. So I don't know what else I would do.
What about the people you were working for? Did they all say it's okay to work with a stroke and the way you are is okay? We'll work it in?
My colleagues have been the most important thing in terms of making it possible for me to do this. I mean, the part on This Is Us was really written for me exactly to my disabilities.
They wrote in the stroke.
Yeah. And that character totally mirrors what I'm going through, physically and emotionally. Dan Fogelman also created Gallivant, so he was an old friend. So that first day back was pretty nerve-wracking, just being on this hugely popular show with tremendous actors, and me not knowing how well I could still act. But having Dan on set was really quite comforting. We got right back to our old rhythm of him throwing me jokes and being able to dish them out.
We're going to see more of your character on the show?
I'm not really sure. I think so.
Do you consider yourself lucky? Are you angry? I went through all phases. How do you consider yourself? Were you mad?
No, I really never went into the dark part. I, from the get-go, have always been lucky, or felt like I was lucky. I mean, I know it could always be so much worse. I have a dear friend who lives down the street from me as an actor, who came over to my house one day, who was asking me for a neurologist. I was like, why the hell do you need a neurologist? And he was afraid he might have MS. He came over the next day, and he was just sheet white. I said, so what happened? Because it's not MS, it's ALS.
ALS.
ALS, which is a really...
Death sentence.
Yeah. And he's got 2 beautiful kids and a wife, and was at the top of his career. So I know it can always be worse. And I guess that's how I've just kept the positive attitude. I just thought there's nothing, like I said, being negative or being woe is me isn't going to help me. I also thought early on, I've already beaten the odds. I became a successful actor years ago. It's like making it in this business is nothing compared to recovering from a stroke. So I thought, let's see if I can do it again.
You joined the Seattle Children's Theater at age 12.
Yes,
right?
sir.
What made you pursue acting?
I saw a production of Death of a Salesman at the Seattle Rep when I was in 5th grade.
One of my favorite plays.
Absolutely, and it so blew me away. And it was an audience full of students, and these kids we were all so enthralled by these actors. And I left that play going, I want to do that.
Like, you want to play Biff?
I always wanted to play Willie, actually.
Really?
In fact, when I was in high school, I was doing a division of debate called dramatic interpretation, which is kind of acting. You get up and you do both characters. And I won the state championship that year with doing the Biff and Willie scene.
You played Biff and Willie?
Yeah, it's a weird thing. It's kind of schizophrenic. You get up and you play both characters.
One of the great plays ever written.
It really is.
Okay. Well, how did you get the break? Was Psych what made it for you?
I think so. Yeah, Psych really was the one.
That?
That was just an audition like anything else. It's a comedy, but I just had the audition scene, so I didn't get the whole script. I didn't realize it was I thought it was a cop show. I didn't realize it was a comedy. So I put on my blue cop suit, went into audition, and just before I started my scene, Steve Franks, the creator of the show, said, just so you know, it's not NYPD Blue, it's Moonlighting. I thought, I could do that, because I loved that show as a kid, and I had the comedic chops, I knew that. Which, like, a lot of guys can play a tough cop. It was really lightning in a bottle with that cast. 8 years is not a bad word between any of us. It was pretty extraordinary.
Did Psych take off for you?
Yeah, it really did. That's the one that still, I think, have the biggest fan base from. It's a show that, like, if you'd see, maybe you hadn't seen, a lot of people hadn't seen it, but if they had seen it, they loved it. So it had kind of this cult following. It was really huge. And those fans, they called themselves psychos, were pretty instrumental in my recovery as well. Just the love and support I got on social media was quite overwhelming.
What was the first thing back after the stroke?
First thing back after the stroke was actually the first Psych movie. It was months after my stroke, so pretty much all I could do was sit in a chair. And they shot the scene where it was like a FaceTime call. So it was pretty much a cameo. But my face didn't really move for it, and it was very stiff. And
What were you like mentally?
mentally, I was ecstatic to be back with these friends of mine and playing this role again. I mean, I never thought I'd work again. So to be able to claw my way back, and it was really terrifying to do this thing that, you know, like I said, I'd spent my entire life doing, and a lot of it was muscle memory, and then those muscles aren't there anymore.
Tell me about Lassie Came Home or Come Home.
Lassie Come Home. I still
It is a funny title.
So my character, Lassiter, very tough macho cop, gets shot on the job and has a stroke on the operating table. So the movie centers around my recovery. They took a lot of stories that I had from real life and the real home that I recovered in and put them into the movie, which was great.
Wow.
Yeah, Steve Franks and James Roday are our writers and producers, and just two of the most creative.
You have to feel blessed.
I'm incredibly blessed.
Is it fun?
It's the most fun I've ever had on a job. People always say to me about Psych, you know, it looks like you guys were having so much fun. It's because we were. We were dear friends who'd worked together, knew each other's rhythms so well. It was just an ongoing thing of making each other laugh. It was a pretty lucky, tremendous life I've had.
Never miss a beat. Subscribe to Larry King Now and watch new episodes every day.